So welcome back to Funner to Do It. We are back on the Jon Boat. We're pretty much wrapping up the remainder of the boat besides the trolling motor and the actual engine on it. Today's video, I'm going to go through and show you how I finished up the wiring on it. Pretty excited. We're getting close. Stay tuned. I'm going to show you how I wired up all these accessories that I put on the boat. And that's going to include the battery box, which is the relays, grounds that I actually have on there. I put the fish finder in. I wired up all the lights that I'm going to have interior and then inside the compartments, along with my running lights. And I did put a Bilge pump onto this boat. I'm going to go through and review how that's done. If you watched a previous video of mine, I pre-wired the boat, which means I ran all the wiring I was going to need for all these accessories, so they are already in place. So all I had to do was come through, put my accessories on, and finish the final wiring. With that said, I'm going to start you off here at the main switch panel. I did it a little bit differently than how you would receive it from the manufacturer, because the manufacturer has this wired as if you're going to use individual fuses as far as inline fuses on there. So they have a power going in that feeds all the switches, and then you just have to do the power going out with the ground to it. I did a little bit differently because I have a dedicated fuse block that I have in here, so I had to wire them slightly different. I'll go through that in the video right now. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this out real quick so I can get the backside of it so I can explain that portion of the wiring to you. So we got the back of the fuse block opened up here right now. And what I wanted to point out is when you get this switch, you have one power, which is right here. This is the power that's coming into it, and then you have one ground, which is right here. So you're basically talking power ground into it. All they have is one of these outlets coming through. So basically power is going to come in, it jumps across all these circuits, it jumps down to the switch down here, and then they just daisy chain it across the way to have all the power for it, and then they jump down to the bottom one and daisy chain that across there. So you essentially have power going into all your lights, and then as soon as power goes out, that's where you would put your one wire in to have power go out to it, which is fine if you just want to have a single power source going into it. I didn't want that, so I wanted these two bottom ones, this one and this wire right here on each one of the switches. I wanted these two bottom ones independent so I could run it separately, have it run into the fuse block, from the fuse block to here, and from here to the component. So that's basically what I've done here. And I'll open up the compartment in a second here and show you that. This top row right here is for the top LED light, just to show that it's powered on. So it's just daisy chained across here. As soon as I turn power on, this whole circuit board will light up. It's going to power up the two charging ports. It's going to give my battery indicator a light up, and of course it's going to light up all the LEDs, the smaller LEDs on here. So that's basically what I've done. This switch down here, one of these is going to be a power coming in from the fuse block, switched, and then going out to my circuitry. So I'm going to slide this back in, and then we'll get into the underside of the boat here, and I'll show you how that's wired there. Okay, so now we discussed how the switch panel was wired up. Let's get inside here, and I'll show you how the rest of it's being wired from the fuse block and then to the ground that I have. So I got my compartment open here, and we're inside the fuse block here now. So I have a fuse block mounted right here. This is a 6-gang fuse block. Ignore the colors in it. I have fuses on order right now so I can get the correct sizes in there. I just didn't have enough fuses on hand to put the correct size on this. That's why you're seeing a mumble jumble of the 5, 10. I think there's even a 30 ampere in there right now, but we'll get that corrected. But nonetheless, what I have here is down here, these two wires right here. This is main power coming straight from my battery pack up front. So this is straight from the battery box. This is wiring up my fuse panel, giving power to the fuse panel. It's coming straight from the battery box. We'll talk about that when I get to the battery box. This will be fused coming to the battery box, so I actually have power. I'll actually circuit breaker. I'll actually have a circuitry protection going to the fuse block. So one of these wires is coming from the power. The other power wire that's coming out is just going directly to the LEDs on here, just to power up those LEDs. And that'll be circuit breakered, circuit protected basically off of that main switch from the rear. Those LEDs that are on the front of that switch panel have hardly any power going to it, so there's really a 3 amp is can be sufficient, but it'll be powered up with the main. It'll be protected by the main back there. So then you get into my fuse block. So each one of these wires here is for a specific circuit. I haven't labeled it yet, but basically it's coming from, power is coming into the box, then I'm coming off and I'm going down to one leg of the switch. So that's gonna be all 6 of them. So we're talking interior lights, exterior lights, running lights. I have one for a Bilge pump that I have on here. I have one for my fish finder. And then I have one circuit on here that is gonna power a relay up front from my front trolling motor. Other than that, I have a ground bus here. This is the main ground coming in from the rear battery. It basically supplies the ground coming across to the whole buzz board here. So I have plenty of grounds to choose from, since I do have plenty of grounds that were coming in for all my accessories. So this is a one spot ground for my whole boat. I do not have the hull of the boat grounded. I'm relying off of this ground for, so if I ever have any ground issues, I got 2 grounds, one here, one at my battery box. It's one of the 2 places. I'm not relying on the aluminum frame as a ground, so keep that in mind too. Other than that, let's go explore the accessories that I have on here and how I installed them. Let's start off with the fun stuff first, because you got to get to the fun stuff first, and that's my fish finder. The fish finder is wired up. I do have the wiring coming down into this compartment. It was, again, pre-wired. All you really need for this one is just your power and your ground, and then, of course, your transducer wire, which will go to the back of the boat, and we'll cover the transducer and how I mounted that in a second here. But if you notice, my switch panel now is powered up. So I got my 12.5 volts from right now it's a dummy battery up front that I haven't put the actual battery in it yet. And then I've got my switch panel. We can go over the switch panel here. This is gonna be my exterior lights for the boat, inside of the boat here. These are gonna be the interior boats. Every single one of the compartments has a light inside of it. They're all wired off of this one switch. So I just hit that one switch and all the interior lights will turn on in there. My next one is gonna be my running lights. That's my front red and green, and that's my rear bubble light. The next one is gonna be my fish finder. Click it for power. And this one is gonna be for my trolling motor. Now, keep in mind, this trolling motor one, this is not supplying motor to my trolling motor. This switch cannot carry the amount of current that is available, that's needed to run the trolling motor. All this switch is doing is running up and triggering a relay that I have in the front of the battery box, and that is going to deliver the voltage straight from the battery through another big circuit breaker to allow, I think it's up to 55 amps it could actually draw off of that one. 50 amps, I'm sorry, 50. To allow it to be able to handle that type of current to go into my trolling motor. So this is not wired directly to my trolling motor, so keep that in mind. So let's just go ahead and cover the light switches as you can see them. So if you see that this one is gonna be for my interior lights, that's gonna be this light and this light right here. I didn't do any other ones because I really didn't think that there was gonna be a whole lot of need for more than that. You notice that this top LED lights up. You're gonna get that top LED as soon as it's running current through the switch. So this bottom one is going to be a constant one as long as the power's on, just so you can see the switches. As soon as you hit it, the power is going into that switch, lighting that up, coming out of it, and going to my lights and lighting them up. So that's how that functions. So that one's working. Pretty cool. Each one of my compartments has a light inside of it, such as that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 compartments. They all have lights in them. That's including the back one where the bilge pump is in it. They all have lights. They all run off of this second switch. So if I'm ever at dark or I'm out somewhere I can't see, I can get my compartments lit up pretty easily. My third one is going to be for my running lights. So click it on, and you see my front bow lights are on. And then, of course, my telescopic rear is on. That one is removable, so I don't have to have that on all the time. I can pull that off whenever I need to. That's my third switch. Now the fourth switch. This is the one I really like. So that is powering my Garmin, my fish finder. This fish finder on here, I'm not going to fire it up because it's not in the water. This fish finder on here is the one from my Pelican. Funny story here. Let's go over the funny story. I used to have the smaller 5-inch one. It was just the straight up and down one. I don't know if it's a 3.5 or 5 because I think this is the 5.5. I can't remember. I'll put it in the comments which size this one. But basically, I had the straight up and down one on my Pelican, and I was an idiot, and I didn't take it off on my way to the boat ramp, and these clamps must not have been very tight on it. And needless to say, I got to the boat ramp and my fish finder was gone, and I never found it again. So I went back and I liked that smaller one, but I wanted the slightly wider screen, so I upgraded to this one on my Pelican. Well, the cool thing is that when I bought this one, the transducer for the smaller one and this one are exactly the same. So I have the transducer on that one. It's all set up all the way up to this mount. I can just switch this one back and forth to each one of the boats, depending on which one I'm using. So I'm not buying a new one. I'm just going to reuse this one, which is really cool. I did have to replace it. I did have to buy this bracket here in order to mount it. And then, of course, I did buy the extra bracket here so I can rotate it fine. I chose this location because I'll be driving back there, and when I'm fishing, it's just as easy to grab it and spin it, and I can see it from pretty much any direction on the boat. I have visibility to my fish finder. I didn't put it up front because I want to see it when I'm driving, but I didn't put it in the back here because I wanted to be able to see it when I'm fishing. Easy solution, so I put it right there. Super excited with it. Love the mount. It's super, super solid. And here, let's do it this way. Flick of the switch and it turns off. Do I have to have the Garmin powered with a switch? No. I just wanted that functionality to be able to turn it on and off. The last switch, we go up to my battery box. Like I said, this one's going to be for the trolling motor. For the trolling motor. So let's go up front to my battery box, and I'll go through the battery box with you. Okay, we're up at the battery box. Here, a little funny thing is I finding these all over the place. Little pieces of my wiring when I went and stripped all my wiring here. So I did vacuum it once, but I'm still finding schnittlets, if you want to call it. So my battery box is up front. Now, I haven't gotten any comments on it. I started thinking, was it a good thing to put my battery box up front because waves coming over and water going into it? I don't know. We'll find out. That's one thing I'll actually tell you on. I may end up relocating my battery box back there, and this one might end up being a storage compartment. But I will tell you this too, though. I could waterproof this compartment if I really wanted to. I could actually put a drop-in actual battery box in here that's watertight, that if water would come over here, it would seal it up. I really don't go out when the water's rough. If the waves get big, my scary butt's heading back to the dock as soon as possible. I don't like being out in that rough weather, so I don't really think I'm going to have an issue with me on this one because I'm not going to be in waters that are going to have big waves. The famous last words, but I'm going to stick with that. So we're at the front battery box. I've got a main battery cutoff switch. This is key that I can kill the power to the whole boat. It's run off of the ground side of the circuit. I don't have anything that I really need to keep in memory on here, so I didn't run it off the positive side. I wanted to kill the negative side on it. So I do have the negative. So I have my negative coming here, and then my negative feeding this ground strap. So here's my main ground to the switch to my battery. So all my grounds are running off of here. This ground right here is the one that runs back to my other buzz bar. So this is the main ground to the rear buzz bar, main ground to the battery disconnect switch. My power is coming from right here, and then I have this relay. This is a 15 amp, not relay, a 15 amp circuit breaker. I am going to splice that wire. I'll probably mount it here or somewhere once I get the battery in, and I can decide where I have decent real estate to access this. But this will be my main circuit breaker for my fuse block. 15 amps should be more than enough power for it, more than enough protection for it. I don't think I go over 15 amps if I have everything on the boat turned on, and the likelihood of that happening is very minimal. Even the trolling motor, because the trolling motor is just powering a relay, so I don't really even have to worry about that. So I am going to put that on here. That's going to protect my fuse block circuit breaking. Again, I got a light in here that turns on with that interior light switch up front. So these two components right here are going to be for the trolling motor. This is a relay for the trolling motor. I mean, this is a circuit breaker for the trolling motor, and this is a relay for the trolling motor. The short of it right now is when I activate that switch, it activates this relay, and that's going to allow me to get the amount of power that I can get to the trolling motor. I'm not going to go into a deep depth with that. I do have a trolling motor that I'm going to put on here, and I'll go through the installation of that trolling motor on here and how I wire it up once we do that. But rest assured, what it basically comes down to is that switch feeds this relay. It's low current. It's only going to be an amp or so that's going to power that relay. So I don't need a whole lot of power coming to it. But we'll like I said, we'll go over that once we get the trolling motor put on here. The battery that's going into here is going to be a lithium ion. I believe it's a 100 amp hour battery. I can't remember exactly what it is. When I put the trolling motor on here, I'll also show you the battery and how I wire up the battery in here with my lithium ion. The lithium ion batteries are awesome. They last forever. I absolutely love it. My front two lights, I actually have my wire. I did have to pull up my flooring here. I don't anticipate me standing too much up here, considering the trolling motor will probably be mounted somewhere about right here. So I did come underneath the flooring and down into the box to get my two front lights on there wired up. Back of the boat, we're getting close to the end of all the wiring here. So let's go over the bilge pump. I do have the pump that's in the back, in the compartment back here. The pump is an automatic bilge. What that means is if this boat takes on water and it gets up to a certain point in here, there's a float inside of here that'll trigger the pump to turn on, and it'll pump the water right out of here, straight out the back of the boat. It is wired up right now. There's a little test button on the back of it. I don't know if you could hear that. It is wired up. It's active right now. This will be run off the 15 amp main circuit breaker. When this pops on, this will be protected by that circuit breaker. I can't remember what the it was something like 6 or 7 amps. It was with underneath that 15 amps. So this will be protected by the front circuit breaker. It's run off of this blue wire. The blue is the automatic. So this one is going up to a power source, and that's what powers the bilge pump. Now the red wire that's on here that I have hanging loose, this pump can also be manually turned on. I left it kind of free right now because eventually I'll probably clean it up, bundle it up, and put it in there. I may end up adding a switch to that front panel so I can manually turn this pump on if I ever need to. I don't really know if there's going to be a need for it because the float should work. But if the float ever wouldn't work, if it got stuck, something got in there, something stopping it from doing, I do have the option to manually turn it on and pump water out of it. So I probably will run a wire in there, do a separate switch up there to manually control it. So that is what this red wire is for. So I don't have a switch for it right now, so I didn't hook it up right now. I'll probably do that in the future. If I do, I'll do a video on how I'm gonna wire that up. For now, I'll probably just clean it up. I did have to drill a hole through the back of the transom in order to put this outlet on there. Word of caution, I found out the hard way, but I still made it work. My transom is really thick. This transom on here is 2 inches thick. 2 inches thick. I mean, it's freaking thick. Well, when I got the hole drilled, I didn't have enough threads left on the actual bilge pump to install it. And I had a little freak moment. What I was able to do was take the nut and flip it over and kind of ground the high spots off of it. And I was able to get inside of that part of the boat and secure it. So it is nice and secure on there right now. I lucked out. That's all I'm going to say is I completely lucked out on it. So before you drill a hole, measure first, drill second. I don't know what it is, but I lucked out. In hindsight, I would have put it through the side of the boat here. I don't know why I didn't. Brain fart, let's just call it that. It is working. It should be high enough in the water. It should be plenty. But keep that in mind. I'm going to make sure you have enough clearance to get that nut on there to get a good seal on it. But bilge pump is on. We avoided a catastrophe. Let's go to the transducer on the back of the boat. So the transducer, which is right here on the back of the boat, the wire on this one was already there. I already had the transducer wired back to here. One thing to really know when you talk about this wire, you cannot splice this wire. Whatever wire is there, you have to use it. There is no cutting and repairing this wire because it is going to interfere with the signal. So before I do this wire, I do have it in that other wire in the other video where I did the pre-wiring is when this wire was actually run through all of my tubing up there to get back to this transducer. So that was already there. All I did was run it back behind these two pillars here just to get it up out of the way. Pulled it up off the wall to make sure I had enough. It wasn't get hooked on my fuel tank, which is going to be down here. I just ran it over the top and down to the transducer. Couple of things that when you're putting this transducer on that you need to be aware of. There is a specific height that this has to be when you're doing it. There is a template that comes with Garmin that comes on here. I used the template on here. The bracket is exactly where it's supposed to be. You do have height adjustments on it, but you want that to be level with the bottom of the boat or a little bit. It's a little bit lower right now. I may have to move it up. I'm not going to move it until I get on the water for the first time, see how it actually works. But to hindsight, you need it to be level. That's one of the important things. The cool thing about this bracket is it is a breakaway bracket. So if it were to hit something, it does move. So if I were to smash something on the back of this boat, the transducer will pop up and hopefully not break. But it's an expensive transducer. I want to say that transducer is over $100. So you want to make sure you do it. Just follow the directions on Garmin and how to do it. But that's on there. These holes don't go all the way through the hull. They only go through about that deep. But I did schmutz them just to make sure that water can't ingress into it and get into it. Same with this one. Just drilled up there so I actually have that wire secured so it doesn't get hooked on anything. The light back here came through here. I do have a couple of these little plugs that go into the back of it, kind of to stop some of the bigger bugs from getting in, if you want to call it. Everywhere I have those, I put those in there. I can throw a link to them for that specific size pipe. That's all the wire on the boat. Theoretically, if I had a trolling motor on it, I had an actual rear motor, this boat would be ready to go out on the water. It is operable right now. One other thing I'll show you that I probably didn't show you in a previous video was my front compartment hatch up here. Originally, I was going to have double doors. I didn't like that. Then I was going to have just a slide-up hatch. I didn't like that because it just wobbled and did everything else. So what I do have is a pop-up hatch. Just some storage underneath there. I do have to do a little bit of gluing on this one because I see that. But it's pretty cool. A little bit of storage on there. Got able to close it off. It latches. I love it. So the last thing I'll show you on my control panel are my two little ports. I do have a, let's show my age. I have a cigarette attachment, cigarette lighter. I have an auxiliary port in case you have anything that you want to charge through there. And it also has a USB charging ports on it in case you want to power a GoPro or your cell phone you need charging or whatnot. So kind of cool. Eventually I may end up putting a USB port on the front of the boat because I am going to do some videos fishing. So I may end up putting a GoPro mount up front with a USB charger because I want to have continuous power. I don't like messing around with batteries on the GoPro when I'm out on the boat. You can run your GoPro off a USB port, and then you're just restricted to the memory that you can record, not the amount of time that GoPro will go, as long as it doesn't get too hot. So I'll put probably one in the back here. I'll probably figure out where I'm going to put all my rail attachments and everything else on it, but that's another fun video for the future when I start adding accessories to it, because I really want to make sure I get it right on this one. The last thing is my latches. Let's just kind of go over the latches real quick on it here. They do lock. I did buy locking ones, so if I am ever somewhere, not that it's a huge deterrent, like you're not gonna be able to get these open because anybody with a good screwdriver is gonna pop them open, but I don't want fast. I want you to think about it. If you're gonna break into my boat, you think about it. You're gonna have to do something special. Either have yourself a little generic key or a screwdriver or have someone to pop these open with. But all the compartments you see on here, lock. So if you're running into Walmart and you just want a quick one or you want somebody to just kind of run through and grab something out of here, you can lock them all. I probably won't use it much, but it's there. It does have the optionality for it. That's it. That is my boat. I'm super excited. I just so want to go out with this thing right now, but I don't have an engine, front or rear. I will soon. Just you know, I will really soon, because I went out fishing yesterday with my daughter, and I got the itch big time to take this boat out. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. So we will be putting a trolling motor on the front. That is getting ordered really soon, probably within the next couple of days. I'm hoping we're gonna get that trolling motor up front. It's gonna be a super cool trolling motor. You're not gonna wanna miss that one. I'm beyond excited for it, but I'm gonna save that as a little mystery for what's going on the front of the boat. What's going on the rear of the boat is not the one under the cover here. It's back off in the corner there. I have a 1957 Evinrude Fast Twin, 18 horsepower, electric start. I said that right, electric start. So it does have the button down here. It's got the starter right here. This baby's electric start. I don't know if it's gonna run yet though. I haven't done anything with it. Probably one of the next videos is either gonna be this motor or it's gonna be that trolling motor. Probably we're gonna get this one running because I'm really excited about this motor to get it running. With that said, I'm gonna let you go. Hopefully you're excited about it as me, because I'm super excited about it. Again, I wanna thank you for joining. I'll put a link in the comment of all the components that I use on here off of Amazon. This is where most of them came from. Remember, if you use my link, I do get a residual off it. I super appreciate it to help support the channel. This is not a cheap build, and I would have did it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. If we do, just so you know, I do get a residual off it. So I'll put a link in everything that I use here. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, put it below in the comment. I'll answer all of them that you have for you. I wish I could have showed you this wiring as I was doing it, but it's just too hard to do. You're so wrapped up in what you're doing and trying to do it and make sure you do it right, that recording with it is just almost impossible. I hope it was enough video for you to actually understand it. If not, ask me some questions and I'll answer them as best I can. Until then, get out and fish. It's that time of year. It's warming up everywhere. Until then, happy fishing.